Are you preparing to meet Jesus? And then there's that verse from Hebrews 9:27. And just as each person is destined to die once, and after that comes judgment. But to really answer that question, are you preparing to meet Jesus? You really need to understand the fuller context that verse is lifted from. Let me read it to you here, beginning in Hebrews 9, verse 24. For Christ did not enter into a holy place made with human hands, which was only a copy of the true one in heaven. He entered into heaven itself to appear now before God on our behalf. And he did not enter heaven to offer himself again and again like the high priest here on earth who enters the most holy place year after year with the blood of an animal. If that had been necessary, Christ would have had to have died again and again ever since the world began. But now, once for all time, he has appeared at the end of the age to remove sin by his own death as a sacrifice. And just as each person is destined to die once, and after that comes judgment, so also Christ was offered once for all time as a sacrifice to take away the sins of many people. And he will come again, not to deal with our sins, but to bring salvation to all who are eagerly waiting for him. You see, preparing to meet Jesus isn't just about sin management. It's not this idea that, I'm going to get myself all put back together and then I'll be finally ready to meet Jesus. That's not it at all. Preparing to meet Jesus is about surrendering to Christ and accepting his invitation to carry the burden of your sin for you on your behalf. So when you accept what Jesus has done for you and somebody comes to you and they say to you, hey, do you remember all those terrible things you've done? Do you remember all those horrible decisions that you've made? Do you remember all of that? You can say, yeah, I remember. And all those terrible things happened. But my Jesus, he carried the burden of my sin away. And he paid the penalty in full. So I don't carry that anymore. I don't carry that anymore. And because of his grace, I'm right with him. Is there something I need to do to be right with you? That's what you can say. Because through Jesus, God himself carries the burden of your sin away. Okay? And he's canceled the debt once and for all. And right now, in this moment, just as he was all those centuries ago, God stands before you and me, and he sees the sin, and he sees the shame, and he sees the guilt, and he sees the disaster, and he sees the addiction, and he sees the abortion, and he sees the dishonesty, and he sees the hatred. He sees every single bit of it. And God stands before you right now, and he says, I am compassionate. I am gracious. I am slow to anger. I am abounding in faithful love. And I will forgive any sin that you can think of. And the only preparation that we can make to be prepared to meet Jesus in the moment that he returns is to say, yes, Lord, I receive your invitation to be your child. Thank you for carrying the burden of my sin away. Let me ask you this simple question. Is that your testimony today?